All right, good morning. Welcome to EdTech Camp on Air. I am Hannah Wolfstadt. As you can see, I'm in my PJs, my favorite sweatpants. And in my session today, we will be learning about how to organize your drive. So I'm joined today by Jen Giffen. She's in the Google Hangout with me. And we want to invite you to engage with us by using the hashtag on Twitter, EdTechCampOnAir. Or if you are watching through YouTube Live, you can send comments or questions in the chat. So if you have accessed us from the EdTech Camp on Air website, the bit.ly, there's a little, in the box, there's the word YouTube at the bottom. So if you click on that word, it will take you to the main page. A new tab will open, and a chat will be there at the bottom. You might need to pop it out, but you can either post your questions there or post them on Twitter, and Jen will be helping to monitor the chat. So before I begin, I'm going to be sharing my screen with you. So you'll be seeing my slideshow that's being broadcast from my computer. If at any point you need me to slow down, just type a message either on Twitter using the hashtag or in the YouTube chat, and Jen will be monitoring it and let me know that I need to slow down a little bit. If you're using Twitter, please don't forget to use that hashtag. And as well, if at any point in time, something that I'm explaining you want me to actually demonstrate, I can be showing you my screen, so I can show you in my drive how I would do something such as make a folder or delete a folder. Again, please just type in the chat that you have a comment or post on Twitter. All right, so we are going to get started. I am going to share my screen with you. And if you are watching through YouTube, which is, I guess, the only way to be watching, if you have the link through YouTube, there is a link in the, there is a link in the, whoops, sorry, let me just get out of that for a moment. There is a link to the bit.ly. It will also be, oh, sorry, Jen's telling me should do that. Let me go back to that. It should, sorry, one moment. Let me just get this set up. Okay, there we go. Sorry, so if you are watching through YouTube, there is the link in the description to link you to the bit.ly for my slideshow. You can also access it right now on the main page. All right. So, organizing your drive, your how-to guide to everything Google Drive. So, we're going to get started. If in the future you would ever like to contact me, there is my board web email address and my Twitter at Miss Wolfstadt. So here's the table of contents. So if you come back to this slideshow at another time, you can always link to whichever specific slide or information you need. But we're going to go through the whole thing right now. So to start off, when you are in your drive, there are two different layouts for your drive. There's the grid icon view and the list view. I personally like the grid icon view, but it's totally your preference, whatever works for you. So if you are in the grid icon view, that's when the little symbol for it would be those two rows of 3 dots, so those 6 squares. In list view, it shows like a bulleted list. So in order to change from one view to the next, all you need to do is simply click the appropriate button located on the top right-hand corner of the My Drive page. So if you are in the grid view, but you want to go to the list view, you'll have the little list icon in the top right-hand corner, and you would simply click on that. That's what's circled in red, and vice versa. If you're in list view and you want to change to icon view, you would click the 6 squares in the top right-hand corner. Not to be confused with the 9 squares, which is like your little menu for Drive. So it's the 6 squares that I've circled in that bottom picture on the right. And this will just change from the 2 different views. And that's just something basic you might want to do when you're starting to see what works best for you. So we're going to go to the next slide. So if you are in the list view, so this is only for list view, not if you are in that icon view. In the list view, there are 3 different densities, and it's basically just how spaced out the different rows are with the folders and the documents. So the default is comfortable, and that's what I have set for myself. That's just what works best for me if I'm in that list view. Number 2 is cozy, so you can see the rows get a little bit smaller, closer together. And 3 is compact. So if you have a lot of stuff in your drive and you use that list view, it may be beneficial for you to use compact. It's just easier than having to scroll down the page. So it's totally a preference, whatever works best for you. And then if we go to the next slide, I'll show you how to change from one density to the next. So to change densities, in the top right-hand corner of your My Drive page, there is that little settings gear. So if you click on that, we're in step 1 right now, and then you click on the word settings, there will be a bunch of different options, and one will be density. So if you click on the drop-down menu to the right of density, you can choose whichever density you like. It's important to note that comfortable is that default. That will automatically be there unless you choose it to cozy or compact. And then just looking at this little box that I've included at the top right-hand corner of the slide, you can change the way that your folders or files are ordered. So if you click name in the top right-hand corner of your My Drive page, when you're just in your main page, it says name. So if you click on that, a little drop-down will appear, and there's 4 different ways that you can arrange your folders or your files. So you can do it by name, which is personally the way I choose to have it, but everyone can choose their own way. You can choose last modified. So that will be whatever was most recently worked with, whether it's by you or by someone else who may have access to a file, which we'll talk about after. You can choose last modified. You can also choose last modified by me. So that's only files that you yourself have altered, and then last opened by me. So almost like the most recent file you've accessed. And that little up arrow beside name helps to decide if you want it to be organized alphabetical order, or if you're doing the last modified, last opened, chronological order. So if you change it from the up arrow to the down arrow, it'll change from being alphabetical order to reverse alphabetical order, or same with most recent, changing to least recent. So that's totally up to you, your preference. I personally like to have it by name and alphabetical. And I'm actually just going to show you my drive quickly. Another little trick is that if you put a number in front of something, so you can see here I'm kind of hovering over that first blue folder. If you put a number in front of it, that will automatically bump it to the top. So this Johnny Lombardi folder, that's the school I'm at, that I use on a daily basis. So that is, I want it at the top so that when I come into my drive, I can easily access it and not have to scroll, not that I have so many folders, but that I don't have to look through to the J, which would be in the middle of these folders. It's right at the front, right at the top. And same thing, if you go into it, my partner and I have a folder which has everything for our class. Again, one Wolfstadt Karya, that's myself and my partner. And I click on that, it's right at the top so I don't have to scroll through anything else, and it's easy access. So if you put a number in front of, at the start of the folder name, it will bump it right to the top, again, for easy access. And just to quickly show you, so right now, the arrow up, it's alphabetical. If I were to click that arrow, it would now be reverse alphabetical. So it's totally your preference, whatever works best for you. All right, I'm going to go back to the present. All right, so we're going to keep going because I don't see any questions right now. Thank you, Jen. All right, so this is the main menu of Drive. So on the left side panel, you have all of these different options. So the first one, that blue new button or icon, is where you would create new folders, docs, sheets, and slides, as well as forms and drawings. And you can also upload files or folders. So we'll get into all of that later. But as of right now, that's what you would do with that button. We'll talk about the details of how to do all of those things a little bit later. So My Drive, that is your main page where all of your folders and files are stored. So that's where you would kind of go, I call it your home page. The next one, it's not listed here, but it's Team Drive. So only some drives have it. So for example, if you're in the York Region Board, we now have access to Team Drives. So this is a space for files owned by an organization or a team rather than just yourself. So for example, I teach kindergarten, so the primary division that I'm part of, we have a Team Drive. So whenever we have our monthly divisional meetings, we access all of our resources in our Team Drive. So the picture I took of this was from my personal Gmail, so I don't have access to Team Drives. But I do have access to computers, which I think we do not have access to in our York Region domain. And this is to sync folders on your computer with Google Drive. So I have to admit I've never actually done that, but that is a feature that you can have. The next one is Shared with Me. So this is also a really important area. All files and folders that are shared with you are stored here. So it's important to note these do not take up space unless, of course, you decide to add these to your drive. So again, you can't organize the files here, the folders, and they don't take up space unless you add them to your drive, and then you can move them around and organize them, which we will get into a little bit later. One kind of annoying thing here is that, like I said, you can't organize the files, so they're organized with most recent files first. However, though, you can change this by clicking the arrow beside shared date, and you can have the least recent first. One thing to note that when you're deleting files, it may cause you to lose access to the files. So just keep that in mind when you're going through your Shared with Me. I find if someone shares something with me, I like to try and share it. So I like to move it into my drive as soon as possible, just so that I know where it is, I can organize it and put it directly into whichever folder I would like it in. We're gonna go to the next slide. A little bit more on that left side panel. So recent is your most recent files and folders that were accessed. So this is helpful, let's say you're working on something in class and you don't get a chance to finish and you come home and you wanna work on it. You worked on it recently, you can go into this and it should be one of the first few files or folders open. Same with Shared with Me though, you can't organize this because of course it's chronological order, most recent goes first. The next thing is Google Photos. So this is access to photos. And we have this on our York Region domain. The next one is Starred. So I have to admit, I actually don't really use this, but something I should start using. This is for quick access to files and folders that have been starred. So it's almost like a favorites or an important section like you have in your Gmail account. And if you, Jen's just telling me Starred is awesome. If you click on this, if you star something, which we'll get into later on how to star, it just gives you that quick access. So it's good, Jen is saying, it's good to use for things you have on the go at the moment. So thinking about this, like I should probably be using this for my weekly planning or my documentation. It's just almost like recent is just those quick things that you use regularly to have access to. Jen is saying to do it. So star your items, which I will teach you how to do a little bit later on. And the last one is Trash. So it's organized with the most recent files first. And a good thing about Board Drive, so our York Region domain drive, we have unlimited space in our trash. And we'll get into a little bit later how to delete things and how to restore things if you have happened to delete it by accident. So that's kind of the main areas of your drive, and we'll get into now how to actually do things within Drive. So creating folders, this is what I touched on at the beginning. So in order to create a folder is great because it's a place to kind of house documents instead of having all the documents just randomly on your drive, which would be the same as just having them on your computer. So personally, I have always a folder within a folder within a folder within a folder. And that's just part of kind of my organization, knowing that I can always know where something is. So in order to create a folder, you click that blue New button at the top left of your drive. And the first thing that you would click on then is Folder. So this little pop-up would come up, and you give your folder a logical name. So whatever it has to do with. So if you're talking about documentation, planning, assessment, whatever pertains to what you need. and then you click on Create. And that will automatically create a folder in your Drive. So something that I love is color coding your folders. So again, part of my organization, me being a little bit anal, I love to have everything color coded. So all my folders within folders are all color coded based on kind of that main folder. So very simple, to color code a folder, you right click on the folder you want and click change color in whatever color you want. So for example, all of my things to do with my current school, Johnny Lombardi, are all blue. All of my folders are blue. Any professional development stuff, I have a folder for that. All the folders within that are all red. My previous school is all purple folders. So whatever color works for you. It's great to keep your Drive organized, and you can always change the color if needed. So just because you chose blue today does not mean it has to be blue forever. All right, creating a file. So there are 5 types of files that you can create in Google Drive. There's Google Docs, which is like a Word document, Google Sheets, which is like an Excel file, Google Slides, which is like a PowerPoint, Google Forms, and Google Drawing. So the first step that I've listed here is optional. You can do this beforehand, and it just helps with that organization so you don't forget to put a file in a particular folder, or you can do it, move it later, which we'll get into. It's totally up to you. So what you would do is, if you want, you say you're creating a document and you want it to go in your planning folder because it has to do with one of the plans you're doing for your next week, you may choose to go into that folder first and then create the new file, or you can create the file, it'll be put directly into your Drive, and then you can move it into the folder after. Totally up to you if you want to do this first step or to move it later. So similar to creating a folder, you would click that blue New button at the top left-hand corner of your My Drive page, and then select the type of file you want. If you want a forms or drawings, you'll have to hover over this More over here. You'll have to hover over the More, sorry about that, at the bottom there, because to bring a little drop down for forms and drawings. And then you will want to give the file a logical name. So up here, it says Untitled Document. You'll click in that box and give it a name, whatever makes most sense to you. All right, so making a copy of a file. So reasons you might want to copy or create a copy of a file. Let's say a file was shared with you and you only have Can Comment or Can View access, which we'll get into a little bit later. But you yourself want to edit or make changes to a file. You may want to make a copy of it. Maybe you want to have an original file, but you also want to make changes to it. That's another reason why. So you don't want to get rid of that original, but you want to have a second one that you do want to change. You might want to create a copy. And any other possible ideas, if you have any, feel free to tweet them out or post them in the YouTube chat. So there are 3 ways to do this. And as we get into the next part of the slides presentation, a lot of the ways I'll be teaching you, there's multiple ways to do things. So they're all very similar. It's usually just the first step that's a little bit different. And it's just, again, totally your preference of how you like to make a copy of a file or do any of the following things. So the first way to make a copy is in your My Drive page, you will click on the copy that you want to copy, and you'll click on it, and then at the top right-hand corner, there's this little icon. It's 3 dots, almost like a colon, but there's an extra dot there, and you're going to click on that. That means more options, so more actions. And a little drop down will appear, and you'll just simply click Make a Copy. And that will automatically populate a new copy. If it's a file, it will, a document, it will usually open up a new tab with that copy. And important to note at the top right here, it shows you that a new copy will automatically be named as Copy of, and then whatever the title is. So you can see here, the original is Test. So when I created a copy, it automatically titled it Copy of Test. And then you can go change it after to a new name if you'd like, or keep it as the Copy of. But it's just important to note that if you're searching for it later, that's what it will be titled. The next way, oh, I'm just saying, Jen calls those three little dots the Timbits. Okay, and the app grid that we can't see right now, I don't think, is the waffles. The 3 lines are pancakes. These ones, Jen? Yes. Okay, and that's the list view. I think it's hard to tell right now. But if you want to change it from the icon to the list view, Jen calls them the pancakes. So lots of carbs for breakfast, Timbits, waffles, and pancakes. Okay, so another way to make a copy of a file, if you click on the file and then you right-click, again, a little drop-down will appear, and you can select Make a Copy. And same thing, it will open in a new tab, and it will be automatically titled Copy Of with the original title. All right, and the last way, if you are actually in a file and you then click File at the top, again, a drop-down will appear and you'll select Make a Copy. And it's important to know, if you do it this third way, this little box will come up and it'll show the name. So it's great because at this point in time, you can change the name if you want. And then it gives you the option to ask where you want the file to go, which folder. So if you don't just want it in my drive, maybe you want it in, assessment folder or a planning folder, you would click on this folder here, and it's almost like another kind of little drop down or a little box would appear for you to further categorize it. And this is kind of similar to when you move a file, which we'll get into a little bit later. One thing to note, you cannot copy an entire folder. You can only copy a file. So just something to keep in mind. Sometimes I know I want to copy a whole folder, move it somewhere else, but unfortunately you can only copy the individual files. All right, so uploading a file or folder. So this is if you have something on your computer, so maybe a Word document or a folder with different documents that you want to put onto your drive, this is how you would do it. So you would click on New, so that same blue button at the top left of your drive, and you would click File Upload, or if you want to do an entire folder, a folder upload. And then a little menu will pop up where you will select the file that you want from your computer. Something to note, which I actually just learned about as I was making this slideshow, a helpful step to ensure that your files are always uploaded in the compatible format with Drive is if you go into Settings, that little gears in the top right-hand corner, and then you click Settings, this drop-down appears, and it says Convert Uploads over here. If you check that box and then click Done, it means that whenever you upload a file, it will always be compatible with Drive. So when I used to upload, let's say, a Word document, it would come up into my Drive as a Word document, and I couldn't edit it until I opened it in Google Docs. But now, anytime I upload a Word file, it's automatically put into the Google Docs format. Anytime I upload an Excel file, it automatically puts it into a Google Sheets format. PowerPoint file automatically puts it into a Google Slides format. So Jen is saying this is a really great tip, which it really is. It just saves an extra step later for having to go back and delete the Word file and open the Word file before you delete it in a Google Docs. So it's just time saving, which is great for me because I don't like having Word files in my Google Drive. I would delete it. So just for me, it's a huge time saver. All right, so the same way that we can upload something from our drive to, same way we can upload something from our computer to our drive, we can download something from our drive onto our computer. So 3 ways to do this, and as I said before, all the ways are very similar. It's just usually that first step that's a little bit different. So you would select or click on the file folder that you want to download. And same thing, you go to that Timbits little icon, the 3 dots, the more actions. Click on that and click download. And it will download it then to your computer. So you'll have that file on your drive as well as on your computer. The next way, again, very similar. You click on the file or folder, right-click it, and then click download. And again, if you are in the file, you will click File. the word file at the top, a drop-down will appear, and you select download as. And this is great because then it gives you the option of which format you want it in. So maybe it's a Google Doc on Drive, but you want to download it as a PDF instead of just a simple Word document. So you have the option to decide which format you want to download it in. This is great if, for whatever reason, you need something on your desktop. You can download it this way so it's on your drive as well as on your desktop. All right, so this favorite feature of Jen's, starring files and folders. So when you add a star to a file or folder, it just makes it easily accessible in that starred section for easy access. So 2 ways to star a file or folder. Again, very similar to the other ways. You can click on the file or the folder, click on the More Actions Timbits icon on the top right side, and select Add a Star. So you don't actually see the star from what I understand. It will just show up in your starred section on that left side panel of your Drive homepage. Oh, sorry about that. I didn't mean to go to the next step. Next page, I mean. And the other way, again, very similar to the others, if you click or right-click on the folder or file, that little box drop-down will appear, and you click Add Star. And again, automatically puts it into that starred section. So just for easy access. All right, moving files. So there are 5 ways to do this. Keep in mind, as I keep saying, all of the ways are very similar. The first step is just different. So it's just totally your choice of how do you like to begin it? You know, do you like to right click? Do you like to use that little More Actions Timbits drop down? It's totally whatever works best for you. So the first way to do this is in your My Drive page or whichever folder you're in. If you click on the item you want, you will then drag and move it into the folder you want. So as you can see in this little picture I have here, I've clicked on the Johnny Lombardi folder. I've clicked on the test document and I've dragged it. That's how you see over here. It's being dragged into the Johnny Lombardi folder. And as soon as you're hovering over the folder you want it in, you just let go of the mouse and it will be dropped in. Step 2 is very similar. The only difference is that instead of looking at on your My Drive page, on the left side panel, there's this little arrow pointing down that you can click on, this little triangle. And same thing, you click on the file and you just drag it over whichever folder you want it to go in, and then release once it's hovering over the folder you want, and it will automatically be put into that folder. The other way is using our More Actions little Timbits icon. You click on the file. Let's say you want to move this test document. You click on it, you click the More Actions, and Move To. This little pop-out will probably show up, and then you get to choose which folder you want to move it into. So let's say you want to move it into Johnny Lombardi folder, but within that you have a planning folder that you want to move it into. You would click on this, and again, another little the next set of folders would show up, and you just keep clicking the folder until you get it into the exact location you want it into. And when you're done, you click Move at the bottom here, and it will move it into that folder. All right, the next 2 ways, again, very similar. We're doing that right click. So if you want to move this test document, you right click on the document, click Move To, and again, this little pop-up will appear for where you want to move it into. And you just keep clicking on the folders until you get the right location. The last way, when you are in an open file, so if you're in a Google Slides, a Google Doc, a Sheets, beside the title at the top here on the top left, there's this little gray folder. So if you click on that, this little pop-out that we've seen before will come up. And again, simply select the folder to move it into and then click Move or Move Here. Again, it's totally up to you how you want to do it. They're all different ways to do it. It's just whatever preference you have. Just something to note, this little box in the top right over here. If you try to move a file or folder into a folder that's shared with someone, this little disclaimer will pop up saying, moving this item will share it with everyone who can see the folder. So let's say you shared a colleague on a folder with you and you're trying to move a document into the folder. It just wants to let you know that someone else is going to have access to that specific file that you're moving. If you're okay with that, simply click OK. If not, click cancel and move it somewhere else. So again, this is something that I learned. Sorry, give me 1 second. Just one minute. Okay, Kathy, I'm going to get to your question. Let me just read it. Just when on my drive, there must be an automatic upload. Okay, so Kathy Lott is asking, there are files. So Kathy, you're saying that these are documents that you don't recollect uploading and they haven't been shared with you, but somehow they are on your drive. I'm not, Jen, maybe you can help me out here. I don't know how they would have appeared on the drive. Is it possible, Kathy, that they were uploaded, but you just like don't recollect it, or it happened a long time ago? Maybe it was uploaded in a folder that you uploaded from your computer? We will. Jen is telling you, Kathy, if you can contact one of the DLRTs and they can get in touch with IT services to try and help you out with that. I'm sorry, unfortunately, we don't have the answer for that right now. But yeah, if you contact one of the DLRTs, they can hopefully help you out with that. I hope that helps. Please let us know if you have any other questions.
Anna.
Pardon?
The voice from beyond. Rather than type it out, I just wanted to point out what might happen is sometimes there is a native app that you can install on a PC or on a Mac that will automatically upload computers from your file to your drive. So, Kathy, you might have files on your drive and have this service on without realizing it, and it's automatically syncing all of your files as a backup to your drive, and that might be why this is doing it. So they might be on your computer, but now appearing on your drive because of that service. But like Hannah said, contact your DLRT and we'll see what we can do to work it out.
Okay, thank you, Jen. All right, so this is moving files into more than one folder. This is something that I learned again as I was creating the, oh, sorry about that. Give me 1 second. Make that sound go away. All right, I learned about this as I was creating this slides presentation. So you can move a file into more than one folder. So in order to do this, you will select the file that you want. So just click on it. And then at the same time, hold Shift and Z on your keyboard at the same time. And the little pop-up menu will come up. Same as when you click Move To. The only difference is you can see that it's now green instead of that blue color. So let's say you want to move that test document into your Johnny Lombardi folder or your AQ folder. You will click on the folder you want it to and click Add. And so now it will be in 2 separate folders. All right, sharing files and folders. So this is probably one of the best features of Google Drive. It's just amazing for collaboration. I use this on a daily basis. I'm in kindergarten, so it's wonderful because I'm able to collaborate with my DECE, my partner. We have everything shared. We have access, both of us, to every single thing that has to do with our students. So it is just amazing. You know, if one of us is sick, we have access to our day plans that we do on Drive and our weekly plans. We share pictures, documentation. It's amazing. So sharing files and folders. There are 3 levels of access when you're sharing a file or folder with others. So the first level of access is Can Edit. So that's when you'll see that little, it's almost like a pencil drop down. So in this level of access, others can make changes, edit the file, and share the file. So basically the owner and the other collaborators basically have the same access to this file. The next one is Can Comment, and it's this little chat box. And this means that others can view and comment on the file, but they cannot make changes or edit it. And something to note, you can't comment on a folder, you can only comment on a direct file. And the last one is Can View, so it's this little eye. And this is when others can open the file, they can view it, but they can't make changes. So let's say you want to share something with someone, but you don't want them to be able to edit it. You just want them to look at it. That's where you would give them the can view access. So something important to note, when you share a file with someone or a folder, they get an email notifying them of this, and you can even type in a little message. So this is something, like I said, I use it with my DEC partner every day. When I want my principal to look over my monthly newsletter, I will share it with her. Sorry, I don't know why that keeps popping up. You can share it with them. And I will always post a little message to my principal saying, hey, I just shared the newsletter with you. Please look at it and let me know when you're finished if there's any changes to be made. Something to keep in mind with when a folder is shared with someone, a folder that is shared has this little silhouette of a person on the icon, and that tells you that it is shared with someone. You can see my AQ folder doesn't have that little icon because it's just for me. It's not shared with anyone, but my Johnny Lombardi folder is shared with my partner, so it has that little silhouette icon. Sorry, give me 1 second. Again, very similar to the other ones. There are 3 ways to do it. The beginning is the different part. The ending is all the same. So if you want to select a file or folder, you click on it and then right click and you click share. And then this little pop-up will come up. And this is where you can type the email addresses. If you're doing it in your board account, the great thing is that you can start to type and often someone's name will come up. So, let's say I want to share it with Jen and I start typing Jennifer. Other Jennifers will come up, but as I continue typing, if I do the period and then start typing the G, it will populate Jennifer's email address, which is great just in case, maybe you don't know how to spell someone's name or just ease of access. And then once you've chosen who you want to share it with, you click on this little drop down on the right to select which access you want to give them. Do you want them to view it? Do you want them to comment? Or do you want them to have editing access? And this is where you can add that little note. So this is where I'll type, hi Rita, here's my newsletter. Please take a look and let me know if we need to make any changes. And then you click send. The next way is when you are in when you're just in your My Drive page, again, click on the folder or the file you want to share. And this little silhouette at the top, similar to what was in that shared folder, but it has a little plus beside it. If you click on that, again, this pop-up will come out. And again, type in the email addresses, choose the level of access, and click send. And the last way, if you are in a file, so if you're in that Google Doc or that Google Slides presentation, the top right-hand corner, there's this blue share button. I think if I'm not mistaken, it might have been updated since I made this presentation a couple weeks ago. It might look a little bit different now, but same thing, it says share, it's blue. Do you click on it? Again, this little box will pop out and same thing, you type in the email addresses, choose the level of access and click send. And it will automatically share with whoever you have chosen. All right, we're almost coming to the end. So I mentioned way at the beginning that we can delete files or folders. And keep in mind, you can restore it. So don't fret, if you've deleted something, you can restore it even though it has been deleted. There are 2 ways to delete a file or a folder. So you can click and select on the folder you want. And at the top right, just beside that sharing icon, there's the trash can. And you would click on that. The other way is if you want, you can right click on the file or the folder and drop down. Oh, sorry, it's hovering over the wrong thing. It says rename. I'll move that. That red circle should be over remove. And then if you click remove, that will delete it. But don't fret. If you delete something, you can restore it. So before you go to restore a file, you have to be in that trash area. So on that left side panel that we talked about at the beginning, you will click trash. So now you're actually in the trash area. And you will click on the file or folder that you want to restore. And this little looks like a timer with like a backwards arrow. you will click restore icon on the top right and it will restore it. Or if not, you can also right click on the folder or the file you want to restore and click the restore button. All right, our last 2 slides here. So searching in Google Drive, this is huge and very helpful. You don't have to necessarily go through all the folders. If you know what you're looking for, you can search directly for it. So this search area at the top of your Drive page, you can type in any of the following information to help you with what you need. So you can type in the name or part of the name. Maybe you don't remember, but it has something to do with a staff meeting. You can type it in at the top here. You can type in the name of someone who has shared the file or folder with you or who you have shared it with. You can also type in the format of the file. So if you see this little drop down here at the side, this little arrow, if you click in the search box, it will automatically come down, a drop down, and it will show you, do you want to search for a PDF? Do you want to search for a Google Docs, a Google Sheets? It gives you the different types of formats, and that could help you to select even faster. I'm going to go to the next slide and then just come back to this breadcrumbs after. So advanced searching in Google Drive. So to click this little drop down, sorry, I said that if you click the drop down, you can choose the format. That was incorrect. If you click here in that search drive right there, that will bring a drop down to choose the type of file. If you click the little arrow down over here, that will open up this advanced search. So in this advanced search, you can specify more of your search options. So you can specify the type, and that's when you can specify, do you want a PDF, a Sheets, a form, a drawing? You can type in the owner, so it could be anyone, or if you say, okay, I know that Jen shared it with me, I'm going to type Jen's name in here because I know it's from her. It will search only files from Jen. You can choose the location, so maybe it's in your starred section or it's in the trash. You can check the date modified. So maybe you don't know the exact date, but you know that you worked on it in January. You don't know the exact date. You can select January, and then item name. You can select the whole name or a part of the name, and then click search. So that's just a little bit of an advanced search. So I'm going to go back to the previous slide to the breadcrumbs. Breadcrumbs is one of my favorite parts of using Google Drive. As I said, I have folders within folders within folders. So for example, as you can see here, it's a quick and easy way to see the trail of folders that a file is located in, almost like where it's nested. So for example, it will show up at the top here. So right now you can see that I was in my Drive. I went into my Johnny Lombardi folder, into my folder for myself and my partner, our Wolfstack Courier folder, and then into the folder for this year, because we were together last year, so we also have a 2016-2017 folder, and then specifically into documentation. And then you can see within documentation, we have even more folders. We have a folder for conversations, guided math, our guided reading, our guided writing, our playful learning, and then report cards. So at this top here, it just shows me where my documentation folder is nested within. So I find this really helpful if I'm working on something, but I need to go back to another folder, another file. I can click, instead of clicking the back button or having to go back through my Drive, if I'm in documentation, but I need to go back to look at something from 2016, let's say, I would click back into this Wolfstack Courier folder and easily access the 2016-2017 folder. I just find it so easy, so helpful to look back. And yeah, this is probably one of my favorite things. And for me, especially because I have so many folders nested within others at all times. So I think that is it. We're just going to go to the last slide. So that is it. Happy organizing. Organizing is what you do before you do something so that when you do it, it's not all mixed up. And I think this is so important. I like to be organized. I like to know where things are. So I think it's important, instead of having, lots of files within your Google Drive just listed, I love having it within a folder so that I know exactly where it is, what it has to relate to, and I can easily access it. So I hope this was helpful for you. I'm just going to switch back to myself for a moment. Hi, everyone. So I hope this was very helpful for you. If you have any questions at all, please don't hesitate to email me, hannah.wolfstadt@yrdsb.ca, or you can find me on Twitter @MissWolfstadt. Anytime, feel free. It could be 3 months down the line, a year down the line. Please don't hesitate to message me or reach out or use the resources. So I hope I helped you. Have an awesome day. I'm presenting again if you'd like to learn about using documentation in the kindergarten classroom, so using Google Slides for documentation in the kindergarten classroom. And otherwise, happy EdTech learning today. Have a great day, everyone.